Journey to the Ice Wall. Chapter 1, The Journey Begins. The Bristol County judge whispered to a uniformed member, and both of them laughed. The CIA, FBI, Area 51, NASA, the United Nations, and the New World Order are hereby ordered to not interfere in the scientific investigations of Memphis Applegate, sovereign citizen. Does that suit you? May I investigate the authority of your charter under maritime law and how that authority applies to the International Antarctic Treaty? I replied. I caught the judge dead to rights, and he knew it. Sir, individual, citizen, traveler, or person sometimes known as Memphis Applegate, you are in this court because you don't have a driver's license in the state of Maryland. As you requested, I placed restraining orders on all those entities attempting to impede your travel to the Antarctic ice wall. Now I find you guilty of operating a motor vehicle in the state of Maryland without a valid driver's license and find you $500 or 30 days in jail. Any questions? Of course, as a free and independent traveler, I was not subject to some random county judge in Bristol County, Maryland. So I knew that the judge was a New Age operative and part of the larger conspiracy to stop my journey. Moreover, he refused to answer my legitimate query into his authority under maritime law. You have refused to validate your charter. Therefore, I shall continue my journey unmolested. I was immediately attacked by 3 uniformed members as I attempted to gather my documents and leave the courtroom. I clubbed one of the attackers with a desk lamp and slammed another with a rolling chair. But the third put me in a headlock while a female uniformed member sprayed me with sarin nerve gas. I was being kidnapped by the New World Order. I was blinded by the sarin nerve gas, but I heard the judge speak as I lay restrained on the floor. I find Mr. Applegate guilty of contempt of court, and he is sentenced to an additional 30 days in jail. Clerk, make the appropriate entries in the record. There were many co-conspirators in this human trafficking plot because as the uniformed members shackled me to a metal beam in a van, none of them were open to discussing the injustice of this assault on a sovereign citizen. Finally, I looked up and saw a commercial jet aircraft laying down chemtrails in the sky, which explained why the guards were so zombie-like. It took them almost an hour to drive me to Guantanamo Bay Prison, where I was taken into a room labeled intake, whatever that means. I figured it must be some woke international code. Standing in the center of the intake room with guards holding my arms, I made it clear that what my demands were. I order that all uniformed members involved in this abduction report to me with their individual charters or letters of marque under international maritime law. Some of the other captives started laughing at the fact that I had caught the guards red-handed, but the guards didn't seem motivated to comply with my order. Consequently, I broke free from the 2 guards and, knocking down 2 others, I made for the door. The door opened into a long hallway with cells, But just as I got my bearings, I was hit in the back with a CIA mind control device that disconnected my arms and legs from my brain. I fell to the concrete floor paralyzed, while 2 CIA agents placed me in a straitjacket and leg shackles. The stormtroopers didn't bring my documents to my cell for 3 days. I suspect the legal information contained in that folder must have impressed them, especially the Sovereign Citizen Handbook. This book, which I bought online for only $350, explains the common law as it applies to all of our lives. The book breaks down taxes, legal courts, license plates, mandatory insurance, and car registrations. But there's plenty more. The Sovereign Citizen Handbook explains how each of us has a secret bank account that we can withdraw from at any time. I bring this fact up because I was on my way to the Maryland Central Savings and Loan when the uniformed members, upon seeing my Sovereign Citizen license plate, pulled me over and kidnapped me. I dressed down the guard when he finally brought the paperwork to me. I order you to stand at attention until I do a full inventory of these legal documents. The guard smiled, threw his shoulders back, clicked his heels, and offered a totally unsatisfactory hand salute. "Sir, yes, sir," he shouted. But when the guard spun around on his left heel and marched away, high-stepping his legs and stiffening his arm swing, I immediately leaped up to the cell door and shouted down the cell block, "You are guilty of insubordination, and I hereby fine you $2,000 in gold, payable in 1 hour." My leadership and sound legal basis must have impressed the other captives, as they also started shouting their own demands on the guards. One captive asked the guards to polish his shoes, and another wanted a 6-pack of wine coolers, with each bottle a different flavor. In order to get out of your cell at Guantanamo Bay Prison, you had to fill out forms and stop attacking the guards. To that end, the Sovereign Citizen Handbook had all the answers. I could sign the forms as long as I misspelled my name. I would be Memphis Applegate rather than Applegate. This is necessary because once you sign your real name, your real birth name, you have agreed to enter the commercial contract. As it happened, I was released in the general population after spending 2 weeks in my cell alone. Because of my great knowledge of the common law, I was fully accepted by the general population. I was given a special table in the recreation room, and at noon each day, I was asked to give a speech on the information found in the Sovereign Citizen Handbook. My fellow captives were so moved by the information I provided that they often laughed loudly, especially when I explained how to handle police stops and court appearances. It made me feel proud to know that I had changed the lives of so many for the better. Moreover, it was gratifying to see that I was able to provide these fellow captives with the educational material the illegal schools on the outside failed to offer. After about a month, I met Larry Berry. He was a naive, gullible, and uneducated individual who, when I first met him, thought that NASA had actually landed a man on the moon in 1969. That satellites and space were real, and remarkably that the Earth was a ball floating around in space. At first, Larry didn't even know that it was Jacqueline Kennedy who shot John Kennedy back in 1963, or that Area 51 is where the CIA keeps a fleet of alien spacecraft with their crews. But Memphis, if space isn't real, then where did the CIA Area 51 UFOs come from? Asked Larry in his normal, illogical, and uninformed way. From beyond the ice wall, in the so-called Antarctic. Nobody knows what's beyond the ice wall because the International Antarctic Treaty won't allow anyone to go there. So if they keep everybody away from there, how are you going to get there? Replied Larry. Larry is one of those guys with both no knowledge and no imagination. I'm going to withdraw my money from my illegal government strawman account. Just write in a check on the account. Then travel to California, and then buy a wooden boat and sail it to the ice wall. Sailing due west, I replied. And so this conversation went on for days as I had to explain the science of flat Earth, the controlling New World Order, the rights of sovereign citizens, etc., etc. By the time our sentences were up, Larry was educated to a point where he could safely function in life. But instead of simply thanking me for all the knowledge I provided, Larry asked if he could join me in my journey to the ice wall. Yes, I replied. But since we will be making part of our journey by boat, you shall refer to me always as Captain.